As you all know, my wife and me, we are planning a round the world trip with 2 motorbikes from Mexico City. So I just wanted to share my research, my experiences and all my preparation stuff to, maybe to make it a little bit easier for someone who's thinking about going on a round the world trip. Today I want especially talk about what kind of motorcycle to choose. Where are you going? So maybe you're not just planning a trip around the world, just want to go to drive around Europe or North America, like United States or Canada, and then it's very easy, so you can take every motorcycle you're comfortable with. But especially for a round the world trip, you will go to places where there is no paved road. So you have to be a very skilled rider to go with, for example, a Honda Goldwing or BMW R1200 GF through a rough terrain, or maybe there's no road, so you have to pass like through fields or mountains. Or you just take a lot of care about your motorcycle. So first of all, you have to be clear. Where are you going? What will be the road conditions? Especially for a round the world trip, maybe there will be every kind of road, or especially in like third world countries, no roads. If you want to go, for example, to a special place, like a hiking place or something, could be difficult going there with a street motorcycle. Another point is you have to look especially for the availability of spare parts. So if you're planning around the world trip, you will go to exotic countries, and going there by an exotic motorcycle, it will be difficult to get access to spare parts. So if you, for example, going there by a BMW or Honda, Yamaha, which are big agencies, which are big producers, they have a lot of motorcycles selling in the world, it is more probable you get spare parts in exotic countries. You also have to think about mechanics. If you're not a mechanic yourself, maybe your motorbike has a problem on the way, so be sure that there are agencies in the countries you want to visit. There's just a rule: if the more complex a motorcycle is, the more can fail. So if you have a complex motorcycle, make sure you know how to fix the basic stuff, because it's not. It could be difficult to get a BMW mechanic for the newest model of the BMW 1200 or 1250 GS with a CAN bus model in Turkmenistan or in Siberia. You also have to look where you're going, because sometimes it can be a problem for getting fuel on the way. So be sure your motorcycle has a big fuel tank or low consumption. If not, you have to be prepared with extra fuel. Another important question you have to think about is the fuel quality. So there are motorcycles around, they need good fuel, like with 98 octanes or 95. If not, the motor gets damaged and the motorcycle won't work like it should. Also you will get problems starting the motorbike. So look for this. The higher the compression of a motorcycle motor is, the higher the octane the octane rate of the gasoline has to be. So be sure, don't buy a motorbike that needs a high octane rate or has a high compression when you're going to remote areas in the world, because it can be very common just to get fuel with, I think, about 91 octanes, or sometimes like in Bolivia or in Asia, just with 80 octanes. So with a motorbike requiring 98 or 95 octanes and high compressions in the motor, you will get a big problem there. Yeah, so these are the standard questions you have to think about before. But when we think about, yeah, okay, so no problem, so I will just go on paved roads. Yeah, okay, but maybe one road won't be accessible, or there will be a big traffic jam, so you have to take another road. Usually in South America there are a lot of roads there blocked by big rocks or earth or other catastrophic events, so you have to be prepared to take another road. So just to give you like a hint, if just 1% of your trip can be on a bad road or no road, be prepared for this 1%. If you're not, you will have a big problem. Always be prepared for the worst road of your trip, because every motorcycle may run around the world. There has been people running around the world with a Yamaha R1, people running around the world with a Vespa, with a 125 cubic inch Vespa, or just with another scooter. Yeah, everything is possible, but you can't go with these motorcycles on every road. Also, if you're a skilled rider, if you're going on a Yamaha R1 on a sand road, you will have big problems. You will have big problems. This is for sure. You won't get there through very easy. You will have a lot of struggle. This bike is not conceptually not made for these roads. So what you want on a round the world trip is to be comfortable. You want to have fun on your road. You don't want to think about what road you can take or what road you won't take. You just want to be free. So if you limit yourself choosing a motorcycle who's just there for paved roads, you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your freedom, you're limiting your journey, and you won't be enjoying as you would with another motorbike. Because of you want your bike to decide which way you have to take, or yourself you want to decide. I think yourself want to take this decision. And there's a very funny quote. It says 50% of the power of a bike is the one who's riding it, but the other 50% are the bike. So be wise. Also, if you're a skilled rider, make a good choice of your bike. Yeah, so people are often have this illusion, get an adventure bike. All the publicities making us believe, get this motorbike, it's called adventure. But if we look closer, not every bike called adventure or adventure ready is really adventure ready or is an adventure bike. So most of people are looking, for example, for power. Big motor, a lot of power, like more than 100 horsepower. Is this really important? Where may you drive more than 120 kilometers per hour in the world? You will say, okay, Germany. Yeah, but just on the German Autobahn. And how much time will you be on the German Autobahn when you're making a trip? I think this you won't pass there a lot of time. So power of the motorcycle really is not important. It's not important. You can go with 25 horsepower and a 250cc engine around the world without problems. It will also accelerate to 130 kilometers per hour. It's perfect. Also, the style is not that important, you know. You should like the bike, that's right, and you should be happy in the morning to get on your bike because it's sexy. And also when it could be raining, you should be really happy to sit on the bike and go on. Yeah, it should be sexy for you, but that's the only thing, you know. It's not important. It's the newest model, it's the bike of the year, it has a design award. You have to be happy with the bike. It has to be sexy to you. But for the others, really, that's not that important. Another very important point are the electronics. On a round the world trip, you really don't need them. Yeah, maybe it's a good idea to have an ABS and a traction control because of wet surfaces when it's raining and the stuff, but that's all, and it's not a big electronic package. You don't need this LCD, the newest TFT monitors and screens and all this stuff where you can point out and configure this stuff. This all can go wrong on your trip, and it will be difficult to fix it without a computer and especially the interface to fix it. Yeah, and as the last part, don't think about other people. You don't own your bike on a trip like this to impress other people. It's your own choice. It's your tool. So be wise in this decision. What really is important when you make a choice for your bike for a round the world trip is the reliability. Do not buy the newest bike without product history, because as you know, there's a lot of pressure in the motorcycle market and the producers are willing to launch a motorcycle which isn't 100% ready, so you get like a beta version of a motorcycle, and the customer is forced to look for problems. So if you get the newest bike without any history, it's probably you will have the illnesses of the bike. You're like as the first customer, you have to correct it. And when you're in the Sahara Desert or in another mountain far away from any big city, it could be a problem for you if there is failing an important part of the bike and will end your trip there. So for at least, yeah, it's like my opinion, at least the bike should be on the market for 2 years. So the manufacturer has the time to correct the first errors of the bike. Yeah, one of the most important points choosing your motorbike should be the weight. More weight means the bike has less ability off-road. So if you have a bike with a lot of weight, you have to be a very skilled rider to compensate the weight of the bike in off-road conditions. So any bike above 200 kilos shouldn't be in your choice. You should consider the bike within all liquids, without rider, but with the luggage. So if you choose your bike, for example, between 130 and 200 kilos, in addition you will have like 30 kilos of baggage. You're in between 160 and 230 kilos. And this should be the limit to have a bike for a round the world trip, because everything above you really need to compensate with very good riding skills. And also you have to think about when the bike goes down, it will go down, you know. It's just the best riders will have the situations when the bike goes down. So you have to think about it when you have to pick up the bike. So if you have a bike that with 160, 180 kilos, it's a lot of easier to pick this bike up than a bike with 250 or more kilograms. So think good about the weight. You also should consider the suspensions. If you're going through bad roads, rocky roads or mountains, you will have there a lot of gravel, stones, rocks. So be sure you have a long suspension travel, not to put in danger your parts from the motor or other parts. Also, the suspension should be fully adjustable. Or the front and the back suspension. It's very important because depending on how much luggage you put on the bike and the conditions, you really have to adjust the suspension. It should also be considered that with a good suspension you will have a very comfortable ride. If your suspension isn't that good, you won't have that much fun. I think you will have problems with your back or with your tail. It will hurt, so be sure there's a good suspension. So if you get a used bike, for example, make a suspension service, change the oils and replace the parts that can wear out. So because most of the owners of bikes don't do this, and it is recommended to do a suspension service every 2 or 3 years or every 30,000 kilometers. And it will change the way you ride from to 180 degrees. It will make you more comfortable, it will be safer, so be sure to have a good suspension. You also can think about a suspension mod like a new monoshock or like new feathers in front of the bike. That's up to you. Yeah, think about, I also mentioned it earlier, think about the fuel capacity and the fuel consumption of the bike. Your bike should be ready to go at least 400 kilometers without a fuel stop, without a gas station. 400 kilometers is like, yeah, it's like a magic number, because first I was about to say like 350 kilometers, but maybe it's possible you get lost and you have to turn around and so be sure with a fuel capacity of 400 kilometers, make sure you can, when you're full with all your gasoline, you can put on the bike, you can go 400 kilometers, and I think in the most parts of the world you will be safe. Also, a very important point is the simplicity. The more complicated the bike is, the more can go wrong. So don't buy a moving computer. Yeah, and another important point is the discussion between electric fuel injection and a carburetor. So there are a lot of pros and cons, but if you really figure it out, there's no way for the carburetor of the old technique. Go for electric fuel injection. You will have an easier ride when you go up in the mountains, for example, higher than 2,000 or 3,000 meters. You will have less fuel consumption, and you won't have this problem to have to clean your carburetor or adjust it. It's just easier, and the technique is proven. So go for an electric fuel injection bike. Another important point is are the service intervals. So there you would say, okay, so I take a hard enduro for my around the world trip. Yeah, nice idea, but if you have to change the oil every 1,000 kilometers, you can carry like an oil tanker with your bike. That's not the way you want to go. So make sure your bike has service intervals of at least 10,000, better 12 or 15,000 kilometers. Don't to have the problem to be changing the oil every few weeks. It really makes your life a lot easier. Yeah, I also mentioned it before, look for the compression of the engine. The compression of the engine means the volume of burning room in comparison to the way the piston has to travel from max down to maximum up. So think about reliability and bad gasoline. If you have a higher compression, there is more energy inside of the motor. So you have more horsepower on the one hand side, but on the other hand side, it's possible for more damage. And you need a higher octane gasoline. So look for low compression motor. It's not important if the power, it's more important the reliability of the engine. Another good point is the powertrain. So as you know, there are a lot of bikes out there, they have a CARDAN, and more bikes out there, they have a classic chain transmission. So every kind of transmission has pros and cons. But for a round the world trip, I would go for a chain transmission. It's easier to fix. You would think, okay, you have to put oil on it and you have to carry it and you have to clean it. But hey, come on, think about it. You're in the Bolivian mountains and your chain breaks down. Is it easier to get the chain fixed there in a little village, or is it easier to get a damaged CARDAN fixed? I think the chain will get fixed easier because it's the most common way. The most motorcycles in the world have chain transmission. It might sound easier to have a CARDAN transmission for the first, but when you think about it, if you have a problem, you have a really big problem. And there are a lot of people out there, they went with a CARDAN motorbike and they broke down in the worst places, like in the desert in Pakistan, and it was a really big problem to get them fixed. Because when they are broken, and you need a new one. But a chain, you can easily fix it. Yeah, another important point is the wheel size of your motorcycles. The perfect wheel size are exactly the Enduro's wheel size. It's 21 inch in the front and 18 inch in the back. Why? It's because of the diameter. The bigger the diameter, the better the bike will perform off-road, because it will pass through holes. It won't go down on the holes. So there's no problem if you have like a 17 inch back wheel, but the front wheel should be 21 inches. If you're talking about the wheels, we also have to talk about the rims. There are a lot of bikes out there with aluminium welded wheels. That's not the way to go for a round the world bike. Go for spoked wheels. They may be a little bit heavier, but they're a lot stronger and easier to repair. So if an aluminium or steel welded wheel got damaged, you have to replace it most of the time. But if just a spoked wheel, one spoke or two spokes are getting damaged, it's very easy to get them fixed on the way. Yeah, another point is are the discussion about tubeless or tube wheels. Get tube wheels. They're easier to fix in a bad damage, or if you have a damaged rim. You will get out of your situation. You will think, okay, if you have a little puncture on a paved road, it's easier to fix a tubeless wheel. That's right, but if it really gets hard, you will be happy to have a tube inside of there, because you can get out of a bad condition. Another point are the ergonomics. Look for a comfortable seat, for big foot pegs, for a high handlebar, because you will ride a lot on your bike not sitting because of in standing there, and of the height of the bike. If the bike is too high, you will have problem to come down with your feet, and then you will be in trouble. More on off-road than on the road, but yeah, there will be some situations, and the last thing you want is having stress on your trip. Yeah, also look for weak spots on the bike. A lot of guys out there are traveling with this big BMW GS 1200 with the boxer engine. Look out for some videos. There are so many guys with problems when they're going down on this motorbike, because the engine is very exposed. It's a weak spot. So a lot of them have damaged engine covers because the bike fall down on rocks. So look for that. Don't make the same mistake. Look for weak spots on the bike. Don't buy bikes from their factory from very weak. Yeah, you also have to think about a strong steel frame on your bike, because maybe the steel frame will be a little bit heavier than the aluminium frame, but think about it, you're in the desert or around the world, not in a big city. It's really easier to find a steel welder out there than an aluminium welder. So think about that problem, and maybe it happens your frame cracks down because of the weight or the road conditions, and a steel welder will be on the next corner, but an aluminium welder, it's difficult to find. Yeah, it also can be like a big opportunity to have a bike that's sold around the world, because you will find spare parts and mechanics all around. So another time it's just like my opinion, don't buy exotic bikes. Also look around for the maximum weight capacity of the bike, because some of you guys are going out with a passenger, and think about the luggage and the liquids you will put on the bike. You don't want to go above the limit of the weight limit of your bike, because then it's possible you will damage the bike. So thinking about all these important and not that important things, choosing a bike for a round the world trip, I just want to give some recommendations for you to what bikes are, in my opinion, are very good bikes to make like a round the world trip. My own bike is a Honda Africa Twin, which has a DCT, like this dual clutch transmission. I bought this bike 2 years ago here in Mexico, and yeah, this was like the beginning when the plan rise that I want to do a round the world trip. But today, probably because of the weight, I would consider another bike. Also, my wife has a BMW F800 GS, which is also not the lightest bike, but 2 years ago it sounded very nice. Yeah? So my recommendations, what I today would choose a bike, are the following. One of the bikes I would choose today to make a round the world trip would be the Husqvarna 701 Enduro. It has an amazing 700cc 74 horsepower monocylindric engine. The weight of the bike is just 145 kilos with all liquids and has a 13 liter fuel capacity. So this bike has a really nice suspension, has very good off-road ergonomics. So this would be the bike for me to go on a round the world trip. I would just make a little bit of modifications to put a bigger fuel tank on it and maybe just a luggage rack, but these are stuff you can manage. The bike, how it is there, it's super capable of off-road. You can go on-road, you won't have a problem with going on a big highway. So this could be a good choice. The sister model of the Husqvarna 701 is the KTM 690 Enduro. It's nearly the same bike, just the engine has 67 horsepower, so it has 7 horsepower less than the Husqvarna. It has a 12 liter fuel tank and the weight is with 155 kilograms, 10 kilograms more than the Husqvarna. So maybe you go better for the Husqvarna, you have one little more fuel capacity and it's 10 kilograms lighter and you have more power in the Husqvarna. Another hot bike for a round the world trip is the Suzuki DR650. It's a very classical bike. I think it's built now for 20 years the same way, they just changed little things. It has a 650cc monocylindric engine with 45 horsepower, a 13 liter fuel capacity tank, and it's also very light. It just weighs 166 kilograms. So also there you just have to put a bigger fuel tank, make some other adjustments, and then you have the perfect around the world bike. It's also very cheap when you buy it new. I think it's about $5,000 or $6,000 new. So it would be the cheap alternative for the Husqvarna 701, which is about $10,000–11,000. Another hot bike is the Honda CRF 250 Ready. It has just a 250cc engine with 25 horsepower. The weight is about 157 kilograms and it has a 10 liter fuel capacity. The bike doesn't consume that much, so you will easily get of this 10 liters 300 kilometers out. Yeah, but you can also make some adjustments, put a bigger fuel tank. So this could also be your choice for a good around the world bike. I think from the perspective of taking any possible road, my choice also could be the Yamaha WR250R. It has a 250cc engine with 31 horsepower and just has a weight about 136 kilograms. It's very light. Just a fuel tank with 7.6 liters is very little, so you really have to replace the fuel tank and look for a solution for that. But the bike is impressive, has the best suspension from the bikes I just mentioned, stock, and also the motor has very low fuel consumption. So this would be maybe my bike for the round the world trip. Now, yeah, there are a lot of bikes out there also capable of doing a around the world trip. A lot of people now traveling with BMW X Challenge 650. It has the 650 Rodax motor inside of it, also monocylindric, 53 horsepower, 159 kilos. Also a little fuel tank is just, I think, about 10 liters. The problem is, I had the BMW F650, a 98 model with the same Rodax motor inside, and really the motor, it's not that good in low RPMs. So when you have difficult off-road conditions and you're just going on there like with low RPMs in the first gear, would not be my choice. I just say it like this. Yeah, and let's talk about our bikes. Yeah, my wife got a BMW F800 GS from 2015. We made a lot of modifications, put a bigger fuel tank in the back. And the bike has 85 horsepower, stock 16 liters fuel capacity. This two-cylinder engine from Rotax is very capable of giving you 400 kilometers of the 16 liters fuel tank, so the consumption is very low. The only point is the bike stock weight is about 214 kilos, so that's really a lot. It's really a lot if you compare it, for example, with the Suzuki DR650 with 166 kilos, or with the Husqvarna 701 Enduro with 145 kilos, or with the Yamaha WR250R with just 136 kilos. My bike, the Honda Africa Twin, the new model from 2017 with DCT, has 95 horsepower, 19 liter of fuel capacity, and a weight about 242 kilograms. That's a heck a lot of weight for a bike, also for a travel around the world bike. This bike has some stuff which makes more capable, because the center of gravity is very low, the engine has a very low compression, it has just 95 horsepower from 1000 cc. So yeah, and I also did some rallies now with the bike. I modified the suspension, but yeah, I think I will manage it. Also my driving skill are not the best, but also not the best, but I think I will go through with this bike. I think it will work out. What special modifications I did to our motorcycles we will see in the next episode of the tech channel from GermexAdventures, so stay tuned. And I also appreciate your comments down below. So if you have another opinion or you just want to say something about, give some tips, so don't be shy. I really appreciate your participation in this big discussion about choosing a bike for an around the world trip. So have a good time. See you next week. Bye.